Captain Underpants, the biggest superhero movie to come out during its weekend. Yes. Captain Underpants is brought to us by DreamWorks, who is no doubt trying to get their hands on as many properties as they can before Disney buys them all. Better hurry up. Of course, the movie is based on the comic from 1997, which I've never read. You know, what else is new? I actually didn't even know it was a comic for the longest time, because I think the first time I even saw the character, he was like printed on a t-shirt or something. So I actually thought it was a meme. But no, it turns out it's a comic, and it's a very well-beloved and well-remembered comic. And from what I've been hearing, the movie is actually pretty accurate to it. The movie stars these two kids named George, voiced by Kevin Hart, who's a great comedian, and Harold, who's voiced by Thomas Middleditch, who is also the voice of Pen Zero, Part-Time Hero. Hey, did we ever find out when that show's coming back? Then there's their teacher, Mr. Krupp, who they hypnotize and turn into Captain Underpants. He's voiced by Ed Helms, who's a former Daily Show contributor. So the first thing I have to comment on is the look and style of the movie. They did a really good job adapting the very distinct 2D look of the comic into 3D. And I think when they adapt something like this into 3D for a movie or a TV show or something, it usually causes a lot of concern, because you're wondering if it's even going to look good in the third dimension. But I think movies like the Peanuts movie and Mr. Peabody and Sherman and a bunch of other stuff like that have kind of proven that 2D designs can work in 3D no matter how they look. Probably my favorite thing about this movie was Harold and George, because I just loved their friendship together, and I loved how, you know, bad things would happen to them at school, like they'd have a mean teacher or a boring teacher, and they'd kind of funnel that into their creativity, and they'd create comic books where the teachers are the villains, and I like stuff like that in a kid's movie, because it kind of teaches kids that they can, you know, have a bad experience but maybe turn it into something positive. There's some really good slapstick in this movie too, and I feel like we haven't had a movie with really good slapstick in a very long time. Also, the sense of humor was very immature, but I mean that was kind of to be expected. I mean it's called Captain Underpants, for God's sakes. I think you know what you're in for with a movie with that title. But it was used really well, and it's you know, it's directed at kids, and kids enjoyed it. The audience I was at really liked it. The conflict of the movie comes from the science teacher, Professor P, voiced by Nicholas Kroll, who's really making a name for himself in the world of voice acting. Now the problem is, Professor P has a very, very funny name, and I'm not going to reveal what it is here because you have to see it for yourself. And what drives him over the edge is because people keep laughing at him, and that kind of turns him into a supervillain, and he wants to stop all laughter in the world and, you know, all the cliche stuff. The thing is, there was a point in this movie where Harold and George tried to apologize to him and said, you know, we shouldn't laugh at your name and all that. But unfortunately, they kind of ruined it. And I was really hoping that at the very least this movie would take the high road and say, you know, you shouldn't make fun of people because of their names or something like that. You know, it's a good thing to have in a kid's movie. But they didn't do that. And I would say it's probably the one really disappointing part of the whole thing. Although I will say the worst experience I had at this movie was hearing the entire audience laugh unironically at the Emoji Movie trailer, which played right before. That movie's not going to bomb, is it? Also, a lot of things happened that they didn't really explain very well, or at all, like the whole hypnosis thing. But I'm willing to let that go because, you know, it's this movie, and it was meant to be a comedy. They didn't really need to explain every single thing. It's, you know, leave it up to your suspension of disbelief, I guess. So I kind of liked this movie. It was very funny and clever. I liked all the things they did with Harold and George. I also liked how they kind of went into, maybe there are reasons why mean people are mean, you know, like how their principal is. And I think that's a really good thing to have in a kid's movie. But yeah, I think kids will enjoy this movie. The audience I was with definitely did. But I think even fans of the comic will really enjoy this because, like I said, from what I hear, it's a very very faithful adaptation, and I actually have a friend who's really big into the comic, and she was telling me, you know, things about it that she really liked, and I told her, you know, that's kind of how it was in the movie as well. So, yeah, if you're a fan of the comic, I'd say check it out. But that's all I got for Captain Underpants. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day. Tra-la-la!